Looks like I'm alive. Hey, y'all, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and tonight I'm going to hop on here and talk to you guys live for a little while and just kind of chat it up. I got a subject I want to talk about, which is lens adapters for the Nikon ZF, and I'm going to talk about my trip to Florida and give you a little bit of that, but just kind of have a hangout for the subscribers as usual, and we'll see who's first in the chat tonight. A lot of times it's either Bass Angler, which I haven't told I'm streaming. Normally I do. Or it's Hassan, which I haven't told is streaming. So we'll see which ones jump in the chat first. Usually it's a race. So we'll just see how this goes. And I'm going to pop the chat out so I can see it better. And curious to see who has actually got their notifications turned on, because then you know. But I've seen a Nikon rumor recently. Let's see here. Albert beat everybody in. And Roger Allman got on there too. Hey, Trey. Yeah, I was just texting with you a minute ago, I know. But I was going to do a live stream and talk about some camera adapters for a few minutes. And I don't know if you can see it or not. Let's see if I can do the finger thing. Right there in the background is my kitty. She likes to come in and pile up on the bed and get a good nap when she can. And it's cold outside right now, so she's getting her a good warm nap in the house. We have installed a warm heated little cat tent. It's like a thermally insulated tent with a heating pad in it, and we've added another blanket in there that we can wash. That way it insulates better and holds the heat better. And she loves that thing. But yeah, these nights is really cold, so. And our dog has his own little room on the back of the house that we heat, and that way they have liquid water to drink and food's not frozen. The usual accoutrements of having pets that live outside, because she won't want to lay there about a whole lot longer. Well, she might since she's asleep, but anyway, the first thing I wanted to do is I want to jump over to, let me see, I'll bring this up, is that I wanted to go over the stuff that I've got saved here. Is this one's currently unavailable. Interesting. But you got all these adapters. This is a Leica M to Nikon Z adapter, and it's an autofocus adapter, mind you. So what you do is you set the lens to like infinity, and then this little thing will drive in and out and move the lens further and closer to the camera sensor, and it'll focus that way. It works. It's a functional deal. But this is a stopgap, but it works really well, especially for Leica M lenses, which don't have a long travel of focus. Since they sit real close to the film plane already, they don't move very much in and out when they focus. But they can make this work. Viltrox has even come out with a Nikon F mount to Z mount autofocus adapter that basically mimics the FTZ that in current trim. This adapter is about 1/2 the price of the Nikon equivalent, and I have 3 Nikon FTZs. I have an FTZ Gen 1 on the Z50 that I'm filming this video with. Now I have 2 FTZ2s. I have one that's on the 500mm phase Fresnel, and then I got a second one for the 105mm f2 DC Nikkor. Now it won't focus that, but it will read the EXIF data, and it will give me aperture control in the camera with that adapter and that lens. It'll do everything but focus. So somebody was asking what they could get me for Christmas, and I just put it on a list. Lo and behold, it showed up. So I was kind of stoked. But let's see here. And then third, not to be left out. Well, there's a fourth one, but I don't have it pulled up. And I'll discuss it in just a second. But the Tech Art makes these, and Tech Art's not the only one, but this is the Canon EF series autofocus lenses, and it's because they have an electric focus motor in them, adapted to the Nikon Z. Now, I can put Canon EF mount lenses on my Z mount camera, and it'll work just fine. But for some reason, I can't still put my AF mount or Z mount, G mount, F mount, Nikon F mount, AF mechanical focus lenses, autofocus lenses on my Z mount camera. No one's made that adapter yet. And it's beginning to make me wonder what the problem is, because, you know, I kicked this idea around. I thought about buying a DSLR, like a D610 or a D600 or a D700, maybe even a D300. I think they have the focus motor in the body. And tear the camera apart and get that focus mechanism, that motor drive mechanism out of the camera, and see what like the gear reduction ratio is and the size of the physical motor, and adapt that thing into a mechanical adapter that would go in that space of that FTZ. The battery will drive it. It's the same battery that was running those DSLRs. So I know there's enough power in the battery to run the focus motor because it was in those cameras. Same battery. And the new ones have better capacity. So I know we can drive it. But for some reason, no one's bothered to put that together yet. And since Nikon has opened up the technology on the focusing algorithm, that's why you're seeing all of these third-party lenses from Viltrox and from TT Artisans and everybody else that fits the Z-mount cameras that are autofocus now. And they work really well. But no one has still made that mechanical focus adapter. And there is millions of those lenses out there. Millions. I am still blown away that Nikon hasn't put that together yet and made that adapter. It's like, what are you thinking, you know? Let me see. I've done popped out my chat, so now I gotta find it. There it is. Ah, here we go. Oh no, I just shouldn't have done that. I minimized the window. I need that in a minute. It's here. Yes. It's gonna be probably, nope, that one. There it is. Okay, what I need to do is pull it down, put it over here on the side like that. Bring this over, pull it on this side. Nope, wrong side. Put it on this side like that. Now I can read the chat and see the stream information. Now, let's see here. Oh, look, Ray's here, Roy's here. We got a bunch of people in the house. But suspiciously no Hassan. I'm going to ping him. And him and Bass Angler. Let's see. There goes one. There goes two. There we go. Copy and paste. But, John Larson's in the house. Look at that. Let's see. The MTZ11 only works with lenses shorter than 135 millimeter. Yeah, that makes sense too. Mainly because, you know, it's only got like a 6.5 millimeter throw. So if the lens has more focus throw than that to make it reach its full range, then the lens can't do the job. Either that or you're going to have to move it through the stages of focus And because it can find focus if it's in the range that it's working in. So if you partially pull it back away from infinity some, it'll work in a shorter distance in that range. But yeah, that's a problem with the with that adapter and the longer focal lengths. Most people buy them though to run the 35 or the 28, and some of them run it on the 50. But you know, the bulk of the people that get that adapter, they run those typical street photography-esque lenses, you know. But lenses like this wonderful 20 millimeter AFD Nikkor with its beautiful some kind of K&F Concepts circular polarizer and variable ND filter on it. But this lens takes beautiful photos, but I have to manually focus it on everything, and that's kind of frustrating. It just is. Ah, thank you, Ray. I know how to fix that. It's right here. Here. Here it is. Yep. All right, we're going to test that and see if I went the right direction. It might supposed to be minus 500. I think it is. Let's see. We'll try that. All right. Thanks for the Intel update. Now, I'm going to need to see if somebody will tell me this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it in sync now? Albert says, Roy can testify that I have been screaming and crying about Nikon not making a screw drive lens adapter for years. Yeah, ever since the Z cameras come out, they've been like that. Happy January 23rd. Happy January 23rd. Audio is still way ahead. Maybe I went the wrong way. It's a simple adjustment. I just don't remember which way to switch it. That's I got it set on 500 milliseconds. Okay, now is the audio synced? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll see now. Yeah, I went the wrong way with it. Okay, now it should be right now. I think I did it backwards the first time. I went negative 500 and should have went positive 500, and I think that's what I've done. Let's see. Good now. Okay, thank you, Tennessee Tom. All right. Hey, Randall's in here. Illegal Mindset. I don't know why TTRs is one of the Chinese companies hasn't made the FTZ-D with a motor in it for D lenses. Would make a killing and a huge hole in the market. Truth. Like I said, I actually considered trying to figure it out. You know, there's got to be some kind of a way to build that. There really does, because the autofocus motor in those camera bodies wasn't very big. It was a pretty small device, and it didn't take up all that much space. So it has to be able to fit within the envelope of an adapter, and it can have that little square lug on the bottom if it needs to be there to house the motor. Nobody cares, as long as it works, you know. I think my thought got missed. Yo, I bet it's a power delivery thing. I wonder if the contacts aren't capable of it. They can make the contacts capable of it. The motor, yeah, I see your point. Like the camera circuitry can't carry the current draw that motor is going to need. They could just throttle it back then. There's got to be a way to do it. like maybe even use rare earth magnets so it, you know, it has more power with less current, so it's more efficient. Something like that. That may be it though. That's a good point. Because if the because then when it was mounted in the camera body, it had its own dedicated circuit, so that makes sense. 600? Okay, that's bizarre. How about 550? We'll do 550 and see how that goes. I think I was at 550 before. But see, this is a new computer, and the settings from OBS in the other machine aren't in this one, so I forgot to set that up. And I forgot to write it down, which was even worse. Should have made some notes. I did get all the panels built out and everything, so that's why you got the pretty TV frame. I'm tracking. I should be talking and I'm not because I'm reading 600. Okay, thank you, Randall. Going on up. No, 600 it is. Let me confirm that. Yeah, sitting on 600 now. Let's see here. Nikon should be embarrassed of themselves for not developing a screw drive lens adapter, because Sony built an adapter for the Minolta A-mount screw drive lenses that are inferior to Nikon. That's funny. But yeah, it should definitely be done to get that right. Thank you, Randall. It's kind of like all USB cables aren't created equal. Some can pass more power, so it could be a hardware limitation of the body, and it probably is. Although, you got to remember, like that 500 phase Fresnel, the focus mechanism in it is pretty heavy, and they're able to drive all of that electrically with an electric motor in the lens, and it would surprise me if it drew that much current. Now, maybe so, but maybe they could run a gear reducer and it would go slower. That would probably be the trade-off, is you'd have to run it through some more reduction and maybe have it focus at about half the speed that it did before in an original body. Because it was pretty peppy on my D810 when I had these lenses on it. They focused pretty darn quick. But like you said, had its own dedicated circuitry there. Good one, Roy. Let's see here. A few vendors make autofocus lenses. For Leica M to Nikon Z. Why not D to Z? Truth. I see that I'm not the only one wanting this. I had something else figured out. Let me see if I can find it. No. I done lost it. I apparently searched over one of the windows where I had something pulled up. I saved it as tabs. My bad. Figures. But let's see. Illegal Mindset solved the problem. Put a rechargeable battery in the adapter. Also, voltage solved. Yeah, if it had its own battery, it would fix it. I can see this. This thing would have have one of those what's that Sony mount for the video cameras? It's got the big lock-on Sony batteries. One of them snapped onto the side of it. But that was something that I've been dwelling on it a pretty good bit here lately. Let's see. the whole no FTZ, FDTZ, I guess what it should be, or AFTZ, autofocus, because it's an AF lens. That's what they classify these, even the ones that are marked D. The D just means it has distance somehow factored into the system. I don't remember exactly, but I know that it's like it knows the distance to the subject, and it's transmitting that information to the camera somehow. But the AF and the AFDs are optically identical, and they're driven with the same equipment, but no adapter. It's slowly walking me back into like a D700 or a D750 or something like that, just so I'll have a camera that will focus these lenses natively. I've been trying to put it off, but I was watching a YouTube video by Carmine Taverna, and he was showing a D700, and they are cheap. You can get D700s for like $300 on eBay now from pretty reputable places. You probably get them from the camera vendors, KEH and MPB and all the alphabet agencies that sell cameras. Love the TV border. Thank you, Randall. AI helped me make that. I started to draw one myself, and I just couldn't get it to work like I wanted to. And I went into one of the AI photo generating things and messed around with it for a few minutes. I was like, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was close enough that I was like, I kind of like that. So then I brought it into GIMP and deleted out the center, and it created the frame you see. And then I've got my video actually behind it so that it looks like you're watching me on TV. Ray said those are the most popular batteries for devices, them Sony batteries. Yeah. My HDMI to cell phone video capture device uses a Sony battery. I've got a light right over there. It's a big LED panel. It has sockets for Sony mount batteries. I've got several lights. There's one floating around Buck here somewhere that I use for like a corner light sometimes that takes the Sony battery mounts. I've got 3 or 4 of them batteries. When I first started streaming and I was out on the porch back several years ago, I had a little light that was about the size of this one that's creating this red light behind me effect, that I would put that big Sony battery on and use it to illuminate me. And about the time the battery would go dead is when I would shut down the stream. You could see it was starting to get dim, But those things are really good. Yeah, Roy, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It had to deal with the flash information. So you like the Nikon DF, Randall? I really was interested in one of those cameras. Maybe I should look around if they're not too expensive and pick one of those up instead, because it's essentially the older brother to the ZF. The reason I'm not on Z mount, flash. Yeah. There is no pop-up flash on Z mount cameras, is there? Maybe is there one that has it? The Z50? I can't tell. Looks like it might have one. I'm not sure. It looks like a button for a pop-up flash. Is that what happens if I do that? I'm messing with the camera now. Oh yeah, the Z50 has a pop-up flash. I just did it. The ZF don't, and I don't know about the other ones. Are you using a grip on your ZF? Yes, Randall traded me his ZF, and he sent me it's the grip that was coming with them. It's not made by Nikon. It's made by someone else. It's really nice. It's buried in a camera bag over there, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. I don't have a I don't have a way of panning the camera. Plus, there's no light back there and you can't see it. But there's a huge pile of stuff right out of camera frame that's just temporarily set there. Maybe I can hop into that experience and go ahead and share that with you. But the ZF has got Randall can hop in and tell us what kind of grip it's got on it, but it's the one that came with them. Small rig L bracket. That was it for Nikon. No. It's the small rig grip is what it is. That's on the ZF. Yeah. It may be an L bracket and I just don't know it. But yeah, it's the grip from small rig. That thing is nice. It's perfect. Like they got the ergonomics just right for me with that grip. And the beautiful thing about the grip is it has the Arca Swiss plate built into it. And it has the cutout so that you can access the battery and the memory cards without having to remove it. And it's 1/4 threaded in a couple of places. It's well done. It's really well done. Last of the first. At least Hassan made it. I sent that text message to Bass Angler too. Con Mixon. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. Gear Junkie 35, Jason Ballou. Good evening, Boca lovers. Hope it's been a great day for you out there, wherever you are. No kidding. I had to work today I worked a pretty long shift today in my own shop, and so I didn't get out and do any photography. I do have a camera with me in the stream. This is the Leica CL crop centric camera, no longer in production. And I currently have it outfitted with the 35mm TT Artisan f1.4 crop center lens. I really like this lens because of its tiny size and footprint, and it's still f1.4 aperture. So it lets a ton of light in. I also run the 35mm f0.95 a good bit on this camera, but it is a much bigger lens. So if I'm wanting the lightest possible street package that I walk around and shoot photos with, this is the system I grab. I really enjoy using this camera. It's all manual, everything. Manual focus, manual aperture. Them early TTRs and lenses didn't have any electronic functionality. And now, either Viltrox or TTRs was trying to get into the L-mount Alliance, from what I read the other day. Roy Bixby says the ZF should have a grip built in. I agree, but I get where they were coming with the camera from, so I don't mind having the extra grip on the camera because of the addition of the Arca Swiss plate. I do like that fact. That makes it easy. That's why there's a half case on this camera. This leather half case you see here is actually a limb. It's made by Limbs, and it's got an Arca Swiss plate on the case, and it's made the same way. It's got the cutout for the door, and it has a grip, but same thing, same exact idea. It gives me the camera mount for an Arca Swiss without having to add one onto the bottom, and it'll still sit flat on a table if you just want to sit it down to take a photo. It's kind of handy. First snow in 10 years. Oh, Hassan got snow. I somehow missed all of the snow. We drove home Monday. Let's just go ahead and do that story right now. Okay? Let's see here. We're literally 30 minutes into the stream. I finally got the audio sync thanks to you guys. And let's just tell this story. I may cut this out and make it its own video post-mortem or whatever they say that about the stream ending. But, excuse me. Okay. we were going to stay through this weekend. We were down in Tampa, Florida, and we stayed down there for several weeks in the wintertime to escape the cold. We don't like it being so cold, so we went down there. And we stayed 2 weeks, and Tuesday was Teresa's birthday. So we were going to stay down there and do a big birthday celebration with Teresa and Sierra and stuff like that, and then come home after that. Well, Teresa came down with a cold, and rather than spend her birthday sick and in the bed and us with all of that stuff logistically in place but not able to do it, we decided to pull the plug on all of it and drive home Monday. Well, we get up Monday morning. She's feeling pretty good, but we've already set things in motion, so we pack the truck, we hop in it, we strike out. Get on the interstate at about 5:30 in the morning, something like that, maybe 6, about 5:30, I think. And we get up to, we go through Ocala, and we get up to Gainesville, Florida, and everything's going great, and then the truck suddenly loses power for a second and then comes right back like you had lifted the power wire off of the fuel injectors and then put it right back on. It just and it came right back. I felt it. Teresa didn't even notice it, but I felt it, and I was like, that can't be good. And then she said, what? And no sooner she said what, it did it again, but longer. And then it shuddered a couple of times, like the whole truck just violently shuddered. I was like, yeah, we got problems. So I start making my way over to the exit because they were coming up on the exit at the north side of Gainesville. And by the longer I go, the more the truck struggles. And I mean, it's hammering pretty hard, just bam, 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 like something, like you're out there just taking the wire on and off the fuel injectors. I mean, it's violent. And go around it, clover leaves around. And at the end of the ramp, there's a red light, and across the street is like some stuff. There's like a McDonald's and some, I don't remember. There's stores at this exit, you know. Well, I pull over on the shoulder because I knew I wasn't going to be able to stop at the red light and make it through all of that to a place. So I just pull over on the shoulder. And when I hit the clutch to take the truck out of gear, the transmission seized and locked up. That was what was shuddering and hammering, was I had a bearing failing in the transmission and didn't realize it. And yeah, as soon as I hit the clutch, it locked up. The truck slid to a stop in the grass beside the exit ramp. And that was kind of terrifying. I was able to get the truck to where it would roll by unlocking the transfer case and putting it in neutral. But with the transmission, it locked up solid. The smoke started coming out from under the hood where there was an oil leak on the engine, and it had gotten oil on the case of the transmission, and the transmission housing was so hot it was burning the oil off of the casing. Yeah, so I left the hood up. You know, it's 29 degrees or 30 degrees. It was right at freezing, and it wasn't below it, maybe 34. It was right down there close to freezing, but wasn't quite there. So I raised the hood and just let it chimney cool air up from the ground up through the engine bay and take the heat out. And you can see the heat mirage, man. It was pulling some heat. So we get on the horn and go across the street to McDonald's. I buy a cup of coffee and I start getting on the phone. Transmission shop is literally like a mile and a half down the road. And I called like 3 mechanics, and all 3 of them told me that was the best transmission shop in Gainesville. So, transmission doctors, who I think the name of them is. So I call them. They send the tow truck to get me, tow me down there. And yesterday they called and gave me a quote to fix the transmission should I need one. But I was able to actually get the thing lined up, got an Uber over to Enterprise, rented an SUV, drove it back over to the truck, moved all of our crap out of the truck into that SUV and packed it in there because it wasn't as big as the truck. That's what's sitting in the floor back here. And came on home Monday. Got home. It was pretty late because, you know, we had like a 3-hour layover in Gainesville because the truck laid down on us. But yeah, so that was my adventure with the truck failing coming home. Now, here's the irony. Going down, when we first got there, the truck wouldn't take gear. And I'm pretty sure it was because this bearing was going bad and it was causing issues, because I had a clutch put in it, because normally the clutch is not releasing. The pressure plate isn't working right. And so you're putting just a little bit of drag on the transmission and you can't let it float long enough for the gears to synchronize. And the usual fix for that is a new clutch assembly. So we put a new clutch in it. That was kind of expensive. And I had that done in Tampa because I didn't have any choice. Looking back, the clutch was probably fine, and it was probably a bad bearing in the transmission, putting all this extra drag on the system and causing the problem. You know, yeah, you live and learn. But now I got a new clutch and a new transmission, because there's no saving this one. It ruined it. But that was my adventurous story for coming home from Tampa, Florida, with all of my ham radios and camera gear. It's all still over there in the pile. I haven't even unpacked all that. Yeah. Randall Brander's got, he is there. It says timing belt, tire blowing up, oil filter not properly placed on correctly, ice, snow, wind, rain, and the VW Beetle lasted 20 years. I miss it tremendously. Can't kill a Volkswagen, can you? Let's see. Viltrox is talking to Leica for entry into the L mount. Yeah, okay, it was Viltrox. Yeah, I saw that. All right, Roy. It is the size of the lens. Let's see here. John Larson isn't tapered like the small rigs, so it moves the top of the grip. What must be millimeters away from the command dial. Besides that, the top of the grip is lower, so my finger isn't rubbing it. Interesting. Oh, it's a different brand grip. Okay. It's the newer grip. All right. Well, the newer one has the red stripe in it too, so it kind of mimics the original Nikon color scheme. Don't let your camera tell you out. Tell you that. But yeah. Ray says there's 3 Nikon DF bodies at MPB. Okay. Red stripe makes it go faster. Reminds me of the F3. That's a nice camera. Okay. Searching for Nikon DF on MPB. Here we go. Holy smoke, Batman, they're expensive. They're still $1,000. Let me see here. Check this out. Well used is $814. The two-tone one's $1,000. Kind of like that. Reminds me of my XT3 a little bit. That's pretty cool. But here's one in excellent condition with less than 10,000 shutter actuations, and it's $1,240. That's impressive. It is in good shape. I like them knobs. I don't know if I like the exposure compensation. That's what that looks like, being on top of that dial. It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, that's the exposure compensation dial on top of this other one. Okay, there's your shutter speed. Then there's your exposure compensation. Then your ISO is on that one, because I see H1 for high 1. Then your aperture will be on the lens. This is pretty cool. I've never gave one serious thought. But yeah, check this out. Oh, they don't have any D700s. They just have a D500. Oh, they have a bunch of them. Okay. About $800 for a decent D500 with a bajillion shutter actuations. Oh, here's one that's been beat up. It's only got 15,000 on it. Oh, they got a bunch of them. You would think by now that they would have consistent white balance in their photos that they capture of the cameras. That they would have a camera they use and a light box that they put it in, and they would set the color white balance to a Kelvin number like 5500 or whatever, and they would just leave it there, and that way all of them would be black, not one of them blue like this one. It just looks odd to me that you can see it's different amounts of, like, it's like different people took the photos. So that flash is completely different from this one and this one. That one is very well lit from camera left, and this one's not. This one's better exposed in my opinion than this one. This one's overexposed. It's just odd to see this kind. This one's blue. This one's red. It's just weird to see that. Or to call them, tell them I want the blue D500. If it ain't blue, I don't want it. Man, these things all have super high shutter counts. And the ones that don't are in terrible shape. That's bizarre. So this one's in like new condition with 144,000 shutter actuations, which it probably still has a lot of life left in it. It's impressive. Huh. All right. I got to get my chat box pulled back so I can see what you are saying. Nikon D810 for $700 with a battery and a charger from KEH. Yeah, I sold my D810 when I got my Z6, I think. Maybe when I got my SL2. Somewhere right in there, I let the D810 go. I like the D810, but it just had odd like characteristics. Some of the stuff that you dealt with the D810 was a little bit funky, like the weird artifacts in the shadows at times. It just had some peculiarities to it. If I was going to get one that big, I would probably get the D850 and just be done with it. And that's not completely off the table. I mean, for a DSLR, that was pretty much king of the hill till you got into the pro bodies, of course. Roy's D4 passed 1 million shutter actuations. Good grief. That's incredible. And it's still working. Wow. Albert says, according to Nikon rumors, take it for what it's worth, they're the ones that posted the pictures of the rumored FTZ3, is what we're calling it. Monster Adapter is producing a new generation Nikon F-mount autofocus screw drive adapter for the Sony E-mount. You were that close. Roy says the worst feature of the DF is the tiny battery. It's the ENEL 15. Oh, it's no ENEL 15. Okay. Oh, it uses the same battery that the Z50 uses, doesn't it? Which is that little, what was it, ENEL 13 or 10 or 12 or something like that. get a D600. All right. Let's look up Nikon D600. Yeah, they got, wow, they're pretty cheap. $350. Dude. Look at this. These are essentially new cameras. Excellent condition. 30,000 shutter actuations. $350. Comes with a neck strap, battery door. Why wouldn't it come with a battery door? It's got the eye cup. It's got a battery and a charger. So yeah, it comes with everything you need to use it. This thing does look new. It's in wonderful shape. Dude, $350. They can't. They're having to essentially give them away. Nobody wants them. That's impressive. I don't understand that. Let's see. Get this broke back out. There. No full frame battery. Toy battery D4. And the D4 is still working. Wow, dude, that's crazy. Randall says the DF takes the ENEL 14A. And the DF has no video capabilities. Back then, I don't think people cared about video as much as they do now. Or Nikon didn't think they did. I mean, I can remember my D810 had video, but it had no video autofocus. You had to manually focus the video. You focused it on where you wanted it to be. If it had an autofocus lens, you put it in camera mode, set the focus. You might have could have set the focus before you hit record, but once you hit record, you couldn't focus it. It was there. Like you could manually adjust focus and do focus pulls, but the camera wouldn't autofocus. And I can remember being kind of disappointed in that. I was going to use it to do video. It took beautiful video. I even live streamed with it for a while when I was down in the machine shop back during the 2020 debacles. Me and Aaron was trying to do streams, doing, co-hosting streams. And I would stream from the shop office because I had a better internet connection there and better lighting. And I was feeding my stream to him in Indiana, and he was building it together, and we were putting it out. But I was actually using the 24 millimeter AIS Nikkor lens and that camera, and I set it to manual focus. I even put a piece of masking tape on the lens and marked where I was in focus, and if I wanted to focus closer, like if I wanted to show something to the camera, I measured how far my arm was away, and I went ahead and dialed the lens around to that and made a mark there too. Excuse me. I've never dealt with the D600. I didn't know it had problems. I know a photographer that used the D610 for years with excellent results. Excuse me. Let's see what a D610 looks like on MPB. They got 5 of them. They got a few more shutter actuations. But dude, you can still get them cheap. $375 for one in excellent condition with 48,000 shutter clicks on it. That's not bad. This one must have more stuff with it. Battery charger, battery door. Oh, so this one don't have an eye cup. Interesting. They want to charge. Oh, that's less because it's got more shutter clicks. Wow, it's in good condition. I've done wandered down a rabbit hole of cameras. You guys are making it hard on me. You got to quit doing this. The D600 equals oil leak. Shop used Photo Pro D600 had issues with spots on the sensor, but mostly resolved. I never had problems on mine. Good to know. The local forensic photogs love the DF. Wow. I didn't know that. Huh. I never take the battery doors off of mine. I've got the power cord adapter on the Z50, and I just let the door hang open and just plug that power adapter in. Hey, look, Aaron's here. Look at that. Helps to be on the right account, huh? I'm looking to see what account you was on. I don't see it. Illegal Mindset asked a question earlier. I saw it. Does anyone have experience with the split image focus screen on the DF? The pop-up flash, Lord, no speed light, LOL. Not sure what that's all about, but that question about the split image focus screen. I'm just reading through all the comments. There's so much happening in this comment section tonight. It's crazy. You guys are off the chain. But I've been kind of looking forward to that FTZ3 if it's actually real, but I still ain't figured out why nobody else ain't made one. And it's not like the Nikon community has been quiet about it either. Ever since the Verse Z camera came out, what was the Z6, I believe. Ever since that camera hit, people have wanted to be able to mount AF lenses to that camera and it autofocus them. That I remember when the FTZ was released, everybody was disappointed that that little lump on the bottom wasn't the focus motor and it didn't have the focus drive in it. And it's like, wow, they did miss. I get it that they did support the last full generation of F-mount lenses by doing that. You know, that gives them access to lenses all the way back into the 90s. The G-series lenses go back that far, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost certain that the electric focus lenses go back into the 90s. I'd have to look, but I'm pretty sure. And, you know, so that back supported like 20 years worth of lenses. But there was another 12 or 15 years worth of autofocus lenses there that they just pushed aside. And, you know, Canon kind of did the same thing in 87 when they come out with the EF mount and they moved away from the breech lock mounts that they had on their film cameras before that. They took a pretty brave step by potentially, what's that word when you push away your user base because now you're not supporting that design anymore and you've went to this other design, this new bayonet system. That's the kind of thing that potentially can break a company. They gambled hard on that, and it paid off for Canon. The EF series worked like gangbusters. Everybody loved it, and it worked. You know, the electro-optical system, the EOS focusing system, worked beautifully. But the AF series, you know, they ran just long enough to be able to make several million of them lenses. Like I said, I have 3 or 4 of them here, and I sold off a bunch of my AF lenses. And the 105, this 20, that's the 2 I can see right now. Got this big old light on me right here. I have to shade it so I can see. No. That's a G series. That 105 is. There might be one over in the cabinet too. I got maybe a zoom lens or two that's in there. You know, alienate. That's the word. Thank you, John. You know, they did. They risked alienating that entire user base because, and I'm sure they did to some degree, some of them, but they saw the future, and they saw that the future was not manual drive. It was autofocus, and they knew it was going to be electric autofocus. So they went ahead and went forward. And like I said, it paid off for them. Ultimately, it worked. Nikon held on to the F mount for a lot longer. and it worked for them. They were able to get good results out of the F mount to what, 2020 or 2022 before they stopped making F mount lenses. That's a pretty good run. You know, what was it, 60, 70 years? That ain't bad at all. It's messing with me because I have the YouTube channel pulled up right off of the camera here, and it's showing like how many people are online and all that stuff, but I'm watching it to make sure the stream don't crash because I don't have to look over here at the counter on OBS because it's on this display. I can just glance down and see it's got a little thumbnail size stream running, and it's just now onto the DF on the live. I don't know how much delay is in there, but you know, for that to be feeding like it is, but there's a pretty good delay on what it's showing me. That's interesting. All right, Randall and Albert are chatting. Canon's mount change was much worse. Yeah. Let me think. Is there anything else I was going to go over with you guys? I didn't check Nikon rumors this week. Is there something in there? Because they had CES last week, so there was a huge opportunity for that. We'll just take a quick look. We'll see what he's been writing about. No. Not the latest Nikon market share in Japan, according to BCN, is Nikon is moving up. Okay. Nikon is now at Nikon digital SLRs. They hold 21% of the market and they're worth 17%. With Canon holding 69.4%. The digital mirrorless market, Nikon is at 14.5%, Canon's at 26%, and Sony is at 35.8, or 36 essentially. Nikon wasn't in the top 3 before. They have climbed into the top 3. That's not bad. I actually figured they would hold a little bit better market share than that, especially with the popularity of the Z9 and the Z8 and the Z6, 3 and 2, really. The ZF sold well, but it's kind of a niche camera. It's not really one of their workhorse machines, which, you know, it can do the job mostly, but the real workhorses are that Z8 and the Z6 III and the Z9, of course. But I figured they would actually pull a little more of the share that way, but they didn't. Oh, Cosina discontinued several Nikon F mount Voigtlander lenses, but they're F mount. I can see why. They're not making F mount cameras anymore, so there's a finite amount of those camera bodies, and you know, the things are slowly dialing back on that. The 58 f1.4 Nocton, boy, that's a cool lens. I don't know what I'm looking at there. TTR's announced a new 23mm f1.8 APS-C lens for Nikon Z mount. So that'd be for the Z50 and Z50 Mark II. That'd be equivalent to about a 35 in full frame, field of view. Of course, the actual difference in the image distortions are going to be different. That's something that I thought about making a video about. Maybe it can be just a talking point here for a few minutes and see what you guys think. If you put this on a APS-C camera and a 30 millimeter, pretend there's a 30 millimeter, 28, whatever, on a full frame, they essentially will see the edges of the frame, will see the same amount of stuff in the picture between the two. And that's, that's the whole 1.5 crop factor. What no one talks about, though, is that this lens, to get 20 millimeters, to get all of that stuff pulled into the frame, has to bend reality slightly to get it all in there. And a 35 doesn't bend reality as much. It looks straighter at the target, if that makes sense, and bends it less because the angle of divergence of the edge of the lens is not as steep. And yes, when you crop in to the crop sensor size, the angle of divergence isn't the same, but the front elements are ground different. The lens elements are all made different in this 20 as opposed to, say, a 28 or a 30. Pretend there's a 30 for argument's purposes. The 30 millimeter lens has a different look to it than the 20. Even if you put this on a crop sensor camera, it doesn't see the same. Like, they just look different. And I learned this when I ran this lens on the Leica CL. I put this on the CL for Christmas one year, and I snapped photos at Christmas, and everybody looked slightly distorted in the photos. And it had to do with the fact that 20 millimeter, when people get out toward the edges of the frame, it starts distorting and warping, and pulling them out. Like they're not in right proportions. If you're not right in the center of the frame, it just don't look exactly right. It started looking odd. And that's when I learned I needed the right focal length for the photos I'm wanting. But that was something that no one ever really talks about. They always talk about the equivalent field of view, but they never talk about the different kinds of distortion that the lens has to produce to be able to get everything in the frame. A 200 millimeter is going to compress everything and compress the depth of field and everything like that, to where the 20 is going to bend reality out to the sides, and it's going to decompress the background. It's just weird. No one notices that, though. Still waiting on Nikon's 35 millimeter f1.2. Z, yeah, that's going to be a monster. I don't know if Ray's still listening or not. Ray shoots with the 50 millimeter f1.2. That thing is incredible. The lens is enormous, but it takes such beautiful photos. It's a beautiful portrait lens. Market share also considers point and shoot cameras as well. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. They don't just calculate interchangeable. Ooh, look at me yawn on camera. They don't just calculate interchangeable lens cameras and nothing else. All those little consumer and prosumer cameras and stuff they call it. Some ultra wides are worse than others. Yes, they are. Yeah, 20 millimeter isn't classified as ultra wide, I don't think. It may be. I got a 28, a 24, a 20. I don't have anything wider than 20 that's full frame. The lens on the Z50 here is a 10 to 20 millimeter, but it's an APS-C lens. So, or what they call DX. And your equivalent fields of view is 15 to 30. So that's 15 millimeters essentially. So I could do landscape with the Z50 with that and have a 15. That's kind of the reason I haven't bothered to get anything wider on full frame. 20 is on the edge of ultra wide. Less than 20, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wide. Me and Aaron did some photography walks, and one year I put this on the D810 and done street photography with it. I did a guy's portrait. I had to get literally right up in his face to do his portrait. It was weird. I even warned him. I was like, I'm going to have to get pretty close. This lens is kind of wide, so don't be freaked out. And I just kept getting closer and closer and closer and finally took the picture. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting lens. I really want that adapter. I really do, so bad. That's kind of the one thing preventing me from getting a bigger / more powerful Z mount camera at this point, because I like using these AF lenses. And yeah, I could sell them and get Z mount lenses, but the Z mount lenses are expensive. And just to be honest with you, I already have this lens, like the 105 f2. To get a Z mount lens like that is going to be several $1,000s. I'm only going to get $500 or $600 out of that 105. That 105 takes stunningly good photos. I just can't autofocus it. So it would be smarter for me to get one of these camera bodies we've been looking at, that's $300, $400, $500 just for that lens, to take photos with just that lens and not worry about, having to sell it, buying a more expensive lens, and then get it. It just seems logical to me to wait for the adapter. Yeah, Randall, that 14 to 24, that was I was considering one of them for a long time. You know how they had the Holy Trinity, as they call it. That 14 to 24 was a big boy lens. I mean, that front element was enormous on that lens. That was the main reason I wasn't interested in it. It was, wow, I didn't realize how tired I was. But that lens was just unbelievably unwieldy. And the bulbous front element made it almost impossible to put filters on it. You had to do all that special stuff to do it. It had that big cereal bowl for a lens cap. I mean, it took beautiful images. And if you were into real estate, you had that lens on your camera. You could do beautiful real estate photos with that lens. And that was kind of the point. But, I never did need wide angle that much, so I never bought one. Roy says, because secondhand gear is worth so little, I've ended up with a vintage collection. Yeah. I agree completely. The Z mount 14 to 30 is cheaper. Is it? I haven't even looked. I'm too busy buying primes. I haven't bought a new lens or camera. What time is it? Oh, it's 11. No wonder I'm sleepy. About an hour past bedtime. We have made it to the 1 hour and 10-minute mark on what I was thinking was going to be a 30-minute stream. It's always interesting to get you guys on here and chat. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. It being 11, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get things drawn down, get myself in bed. I got a big day tomorrow, so hopefully, I don't have my truck. It's in Gainesville, Florida in the shop, so I'm operating on the old 97 Chevrolet work truck. But I'm wanting to get out and do some stuff tomorrow and film some videos and things like that. Got my video editing computer put together. This is kind of crazy. Let's see if I can open it. Do this. Pull this over here. If you know anything about Linux at all, let me just show you something. This is my current computer. All this at the top is how many threads it has. I have 40 cores and 80 threads worth of processing power. I only have 32 gig of RAM currently because of one of the RAM sticks went bad, so I had to pull half of the RAM to be in compliance with what the spec sheet said you had to load the RAM in with. You got to do it in even increments, so it's like you can do 8 and then 16, 32, 64, and 128 and something. It gets big. You can put a lot, but you got to do it in even quantities. So I had to take 4 sticks out because one stick went bad. There was 8 gig sticks to start with, but now even at 32 gig, you can see I haven't even gotten close. I've only utilized up to 7.5 gigabytes at any time today, and no, I've utilized a little more than that. I think that's what this meter is showing. I've used like probably 15, maybe 16, but currently it's at 7.5. You know, there's really no need for more than 32 for what I'm doing, but this is going to allow me to process videos a lot faster and easier. Yeah, it's just incredible. But if you're not into Linux, this is Ubuntu Studio. Let's see. What is it? There we go. Do this. What is it? There it is. Yeah. Ubuntu Studio dark theme. But yeah, Ubuntu Studio has a bunch of stuff to do, editing and photo and video and audio stuff, and it's preloaded with all those programs, so you don't have to download them and install them. It's built specifically for that out of the box. Saves you a bunch of time and makes it simpler. But yeah, I don't know. This thing had a problem. Like I said, I messed with it before I left on my trip. Oh, get me back in frame. Here we go. Close the window. There we go. But I finally got it going. Once I figured out it had a bad RAM stick, and the whole time it was telling me the power button flashes with a code that tells you what's wrong. I just didn't know it. Finally looked up the data sheet on it, and it had a troubleshooting section, and it said, if the power button is blinking, this is the color scheme. And sure enough, it was the one that said bad RAM. It's like, that's all it was. It wouldn't boot. I couldn't figure out why. And a stupid dead sticker RAM. But anyway, back to the subject at hand. I've got my editing computer up, so I'm going to go film some videos tomorrow, and I'm going to come home and edit them and then upload them, and I need to get myself in the bed if I'm going to do that. So I appreciate you guys joining in for the stream tonight. It's been a lot of fun. No work for me. Still, our streets are still shut down. Yeah, you got 1/8 of an inch of snow, didn't you? Oh, y'all are talking about variable aperture lenses. Yeah, John's got a good point. Dude, install VTop and give it a whirl. Okay. I'll do that in just a minute. Hit the like button if y'all haven't done it yet. I'm going to have to see what it does. But yeah, I appreciate y'all joining me. And until next time, get your camera out and go take a picture with it. All right. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.